Right, welcome back to another day of streaming. Today is the 26th of the second month, February 2026. As you know, it's Thursday, pretty much approaching the final days of this week. After tomorrow, then we go for a weekend break and we're back next week. So today is Thursday. We had news driver at 8:30, and let's see what today has to offer in the marketplace. I'm looking at NASDAQ for sure. As you know, that's the only asset that we're trading, the NQ futures, and so far, as mentioned, I'm leaning on the bullish side. Things not looking that bearish for me, so my bias is definitely switched to bullish. What I'm looking at is this gap right here, this volume imbalance. That's my next drawn liquidity or my next target. And for today's session or for today's trading, that's where I want to see price gravitate towards. What I'm also annotating is this blue area, which is a volume imbalance coupled with a CV, sell side imbalance by side inefficiency, so a fair value gap here. And I want to see that, seeing if it would act as a form of support to go higher. So far, price trading to the consequent encroachment of it, and we're seeing some form of rejection. So let's see if that will continue and if we get the inversion of that gap today. But my drawn liquidity is the yellow area, which is the weekly inversion fair value gap. And then obviously on the highs we have buy side, then we have some sell side liquidity resting, not sell side, sorry, fair value gap resting here. So all that can be a drawn liquidity. But also keep in mind we also took buy side liquidity resting here on these highs. So you never know, that could be element to see price trade lower. See price trade lower, but I'm looking at this gap here as well. Let's see if price will want to trade inside of this fair value gap or not. But let's just observe price. Alright, we have the opening building a couple. And again we have the gap from right here. New the opening gap that price is currently trading inside of. So all this is attention or areas that we want to pay close attention to. And I will also pay attention to this relatively equal lows here, seeing if that can be a means as to why price can trade lower or not. But let's just see. We still have a portion of the gap that's left open. That's right here. So we'll also be paying mind to this area, which I will keep on the chart just to keep the chart a bit clean. But let's see here. If we want to run some sell side first, then take it to the buy side targets. We have no news drivers. We had news driver at 8:30, and we have no more for today. Actually, right. So we have no more news drivers for today. So let's see if we can get some nice price delivery for this AM session. We have the opening bell in a couple of minutes. The opening range gap, it seems like it's not that exciting of a gap, actually. A rather small gap, it seems. So we would see how that gap opens. Right. So I'm just waiting for the opening bell. Again, the opening bell is in a couple of minutes. So we'll just wait for that. So again, we have the opening bell in like 4 minutes. So we'll see how the opening bell opens, and that will determine what we do thereafter. But I'm looking at these equal lows here. Let's see if prices want to run lower first, then spool to the upside. Also, let me go ahead and mark up my opening prices. So 830 opening price. We have 830 opening price being right around here. And then we would have the midnight opening price. Then we have midnight opening price being here. So we're marking our midnight opening and 830 open. So we can gauge our openings in a premium and discount market. Again, I'm leaning more on the bullish side because price action from a higher time frame is definitely showing me bearish bullishness. So once I have my narrative or my bias from a daily perspective, thereafter is trying to see where price would gravitate to. So I'm looking at this yellow area here as drawing liquidity. Well, let's see if price would want to trade much lower. And also, yesterday's gap was never traded into as well. So that could also be a level that price could be, potentially wants to gravitate to fill yesterday's gap, opening range gap. So we also have that in mind as well. So let me label it correctly actually. So that would be Wednesday's opening range gap high, and then we would have Wednesday opening range gap low, because that can be a level where we can see price want to gravitate to fill. So let's see if that can be possible or not. But we have the opening bell in just a couple. And then here we also have some nice equal lows resting right here. That's looking really nice. That again could be a means of drawing liquidity. So let's see what happens here. So these lows right here is where my eyes is at. And by extension, let's see if price wants to go all the way towards opening range gap of yesterday to feel it or not. So we have the opening range gap in a couple seconds, so I would just go on the regular trading hours so I can have that mapped out once price opens. Right, so we have the opening bell here. So now let me mark up my opening range gap. So we have the close of yesterday being here, opening range gap high, and then we would have the opening range gap low coming in here for today's opening price. And of course, we want to get the different quadrants. So rapid displacement lower, as you can see. So now my attention go to yesterday's opening range gap, right? Seeing if we want to fill there, and also the relatively equal lows that we had in mind. That can be approached anytime from now. So let's see if we want to gravitate towards that. But you can see a significant drop lower, and you could have gotten up here, right, to take price lower into those smooth lows right here. And by extension, let's see if we'll take it into yesterday's opening range gap, which is resting right under here, about 100 and something points away. So let's see what happens here. I would actually put that blue area only under 1 hour, on the daily, sorry, so I can keep my chart a bit clean. So we trade into the standard deviation of the first presented fair value gap, of the opening range gap, sorry, right here. And also inside of the higher time frame fair value gap. So let's see if price would continue lower to the downside or not. So my eyes is at this sell side liquidity resting here, and ultimately at yesterday's opening range gap. Let's see if price can make its way there. But you can see the ranges get rather large as well. And let's wait for the first presented fair value gap and see what happens. But our first target is a relatively equal lows resting right here. Let's look and see if that's a target they would like to run towards. If you drop to the 15 seconds, right, in here is an area where you could get entry. If they want to sell off price, we would want to see that down close candle right here. Up close candle, sorry, this act as an order block to send price higher. This blue area that I shaded in blue, we would want to see that act as an order block to support price lower, sorry, not higher. Why did I say higher? But let's see here what happens. Right, so relatively equal lows hit here, rather nice. Drop lower using the opening bell as volume. So now our eyes go to the opening range gap from yesterday that was left unfilled. Let's see if price want to gravitate towards that level. And also waiting on the first presented fair value gap to be created. And then we would see how price trades thereafter. But our initial target, first target hit here, and the only opportunity you could have get was all the way from up here at the pre-market, inversion gap, fair value gap, and take price lower to the relatively equal lows. But we didn't get that, so we will wait and sit in our hands until then. But now let's see how price wants to trade in that area here. As mentioned, we want to see that act as support on price to go lower if we are bearish. This down close candle should act as a bearish order block to take price into relatively the opening range gap of yesterday. So let's see here. We're just about a couple points away, about 100 points away from that gap. And let's see if we get the first presented fair value gap created and take it down into those levels from yesterday. So rather nice volume here to the downside. Again, my eyes go to yesterday's opening range gap as my drawn liquidity. I had no entry opportunity here, so I didn't enter anything. I'm not in any trade because I wasn't offered this opportunity to enter. So if price run towards our target without giving us an opportunity, then that would be it for today, or we wait until we see some form of reversal to the upside. So most likely our first presented fair value gap would be this gap right here. So we'll see if that can give us the opportunity to sell off into yesterday's opening range gap. So we didn't get the first presented fair value gap. So let's still wait. We have a 2-minute gap right here, however. So this is this 2-minute fair value gap right here that price traded up into. So let's see how that treat price. Let's see how that gap treats price. I'm looking at this here. This up close candle should act as an order block on price. So we would want to see how price trade here. I like how we tap into it here. So I'm just watching how price is trading here. We reach up into a 3-minute fair value gap. So I'm just watching the 2-minute here, this up close candle, seeing if it acts as an order block to send price lower. And again, the drawn liquidity is yesterday's opening range gap that was left open or left unfilled. Again, in watching price and how it's trading inside of this red area, this small fair value gap on the 2-minute, and then on the 3-minute, we traded up into this fair value gap here, partially. So I want you to see if that would create an institutional order flow and schedule and price turn lower. We now have this 5-minute one here that we'll also monitor to see if price wants to trade up into, which is also inside of the order block that we were looking at. So let's see what happens here. We also didn't have a first presented fair value gap created as yet. So I'm looking at this down close candle, up close candle, sorry, this candle right here, seeing if it will act as an order block to send price lower. But first looking to see if they want to take price again into the 5-minute, this 5-minute fair value gap here, to use as a catalyst to send price to the downside. But price is still banging around this 2-minute fair value gap right here. So try this. So let's see if your price can roll to the downside to attack yesterday's opening range gap. It could be that they want to take price into the, this fair value gap here on the 5-minute before dropping it lower. But let's observe here. Preferably I want to see the treat it as a breakaway gap and run towards the target and leaving it open. But let's just observe. But on the 5-minute, we're looking decently strong, where we can see it continue. But if not, we will just get stuck, and that would be it on the day. But my target remain opening range gap of yesterday's high. And so far, I'm in drawdown on this position. Let's see if we can get target hit or not. So again, my target is yesterday's opening range gap low. High, sorry. And on the 5 minute, I want to see that bear breakaway gap. So I don't want to see it come back in here without running to the target. And I could get stopped here. Let's see. But here would be the first presented fair value gap. So let's just see if we can get our target hit here. I'll roll my stop to this high right here because I don't expect price to come back up there. And again, let's hold out until if we can get our full take profit. And that would be it for today. Now we have this value gap. I'll be watching this in the blue. And I would actually roll my stop into profit or just spin it break even. So we pretty much CQ here. And let's see if this immediate rebalance could happen. If that happens, then we'll want to see price run towards the target. But I roll my stop to break even pretty much. And the worst thing that could happen is we get stopped out at break even. And also my stop is just above this fair value gap right here, because I would want to see that support price to the downside. But preferably that even be a breakaway gap and price not returning to it at all. Or if we do return back into it, partially. So I want to see price run away from that fair value gap now as we reach into it there. So we reach into it, and I would want to see price start displacing lower from there. Preferably using it as institutional order flow entry drill. But again, the worst thing that can happen is I get stop in profit or just at break even. But my stop is pretty much protected. Just above the high of that fair value gap. And that would be it there, pretty much stop in at break even. And that would be it for this trade pretty much. So let's just watch price here for a minute, seeing what they want to do. But again, the target is still the lows here of yesterday. Let's see if they still want to take price there or not. But you can see how different the price action get here. A bit of a more high resistance, because that is pretty much in a discounted market. That's where smart money is trying to take profit and not really add. So it's reasonable to see how different the price action got in that area. I would actually try shots again with the same target in mind if it shows us the willingness that we want to trade lower. So that's my last one. Because the first one was a break even, I didn't mind executing on that one here now. So if that take a full stop loss, then I would be done. But I'm using that fair value gap here as a reclaim fair value gap to see price trade lower into our target. And you can see I went in with less, only 2. The first trade I entered with 3. This time I entered with 2. And once my target hit, then again, that would be it for me for today. So on the left side is the full micro contract, NQ contract, sorry. On the right side where we execute is the micro contract. So let's see if we can get target hit there. 120. 161.25. So I roll to break even again. Let's see if we can get target by price using this value gap here, which I will annotate in a kind of grayish color to trade lower. So we should get take profit hit there. So boom, just like that, they done. Right, so really nice. Price could continue trading much lower, but I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with what I got there. We get a bit of a more higher resistance liquidity run on that trade because again we're more in a deeper discount of price. That is where smart money is trying to take out the positions and not add positions. So that's why we had more of a back and forth price action here rather than the drop from pre-market lower. But all in all, once the drawn liquidity is in play, then price will just continue gravitating to where it's gravitating to. And we get our target for the day. Yes, price could continue dropping lower into that, fill that opening range gap of yesterday even more. But I'm satisfied with that, and that would be it for today's session. So good day and good trading.